One of the biggest mistakes that traders make is constantly trying to reinvent the wheel. New indicators, new strategies, new shortcuts. And most of the time, that's exactly why they stay stuck. Today, I'm sitting down with Andy, also known as PDC Wizard in our community. Andy is an inner circle member who's locked in over 7K in profits in just the last few months, with 3 locked in payouts this month alone. What makes Andy's story powerful is not luck or aggression. It's actually quite the opposite. He committed to the framework. He followed the playbook. He took feedback, made adjustments, and stopped trying to outsmart the system. He wasn't ignoring suggestions, and there was no chasing of the next shiny object. Just disciplined execution of the VWAP Wave system setups, especially price discovery continuation, which is where he's built real consistency and being able to identify the proper market condition to wait for that particular setup. In this interview, we're going to break down exactly how Andy thinks about setups, how he's managing risk, practicing patience, and why doing less but doing it better is what's finally moving the needle for Andy. If you've ever felt like you know the system, but can't quite yet translate it to payouts, this conversation is for you. So let's dive into my conversation with Andy. All right. So today I'm here with Andy. Andy has been a wonderful addition to our group over at the Inner Circle. He's been a very committed individual to the program. And what I've really enjoyed about working with Andy is that he's been really great at just taking direction. A lot of the concepts we talk about, a lot of the skill work, there's not a whole lot of questioning or, wondering. He just kind of, he takes the advice and he takes the instruction and he takes it quite literally and he works within that framework. And because of that, he's getting results. So really excited to kind of dive a little deeper today for everybody. A lot of people in the community might know him previously known as Zombie Trader. Now he goes by the PDC Wizard. So you can guess which his favorite setup is. But we'll get started. Andy, welcome to the interview.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Happy to be here.
So we'll just get started with some light chatter. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and so we can kind of get to know you a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm a big old nerd from way back. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I've always loved the markets and trading. I've actually been on disability for the last several years. I had a really bad mental health kind of breakdown in 2021 after COVID and like being, cooped up for all that time. It really messed with my mental health and I was actually even hospitalized for a little bit. So it's been the last several years have been mostly just kind of rebuilding from that. And I've done various jobs over the years, most of them technical in nature. Like I was a print services developer for an insurance company for a really, really long time, for over 20 years. Before that, I've done all the odd jobs that kids do. I did even Arby's when I was a kid, like all that fun stuff. But I've done a whole lot of things. But I've always loved the financial markets. I've loved the idea of like trading things like options and stocks and all of those fun things. And I've dipped my toe into them over the years. I tried thinking I was a major options trader back in like 2017 and lost a whole bunch of money doing that, trying to, thinking I was all that and a bag of chips, and lost the whole bag and then some. And so, I'm a big D&D nerd. You can kind of see that I've merged both my trading identity and my trading identity together into one persona, the PDC Wizard, after one of my favorite setups in the VWAP Wave system. It's a highly reliable one. It's one that fits my personality, and I just like it. But I'm a big old nerd at heart. I love to meet people. I spend a lot of time in chat, and I just love talking to people, and I just love this community. So yeah.
Awesome. I think you found a home with us because I'm quite nerdy myself, and my wife will be the first person to tell you so. So but it's a great community, professional, mature, but
Yeah.
also, smart and very competent people in our group.
And that was kind of a surprise to me because a lot of the mentality and trading communities on Discord, and especially that come from YouTube. So where I found your content on YouTube, like most people have, or what TikTok or one of the others. The thing that really kind of surprised me was how little of the finance bro mentality has propagated to this group. Like the Drysdale group in general is mostly just regular people trying to learn how to trade well. And instead of having that, like, oh, bro, like, I'm getting in on Solana and like it's going to the moon, bro. The finance bro mentality that it can be, I think mostly people are just trying to make a living, but it's a big turnoff for a lot of people, and it was for me in a lot of the group communities I've tried over the years. So it was a real breath of fresh air to have just such a group of dedicated and just nice, normal people to learn to trade with. And it's just been, I've met so many wonderful people through this group that, I'll probably stay here forever. It doesn't matter how successful I get. So
awesome. So you're relatively new to futures trading in
yeah.
general,
Mm-hmm.
less than 6 months, I believe. So let's talk a little bit about, where you started. I know we don't have to go all that far back,
Yeah.
but let's talk about, what frustrations you were having in the learning process and kind of what had helped you when you started working with us.
So I dabbled for over a year. So I started like I took my first prop firm in July of 2024. And
Okay.
but and I thought I was taking it seriously then. I had learned from a lot of YouTube content, mostly like SMB Capital and Ross Cameron, some of those guys. You know Ross very well. You worked with him for a long time.
Yep.
I loved his content. I tried small caps briefly, but I never had the capital requirement to day trade stocks. So I was limited to 3 trades a week. And I really could never make it work because I never had the capital to make it work. And, I always found small caps to be so difficult. But with futures specifically, I struggled because I jumped into NQ right away. I was completely unprepared for how volatile it can be, how fast the price can move, and how fast you can blow a prop firm account with just 1 or 2 contracts at the wrong time and holding them. Like I thought that I'd be able to identify a trend and then just hold it all day and just pass and then just print money right at the beginning. Like I really had this idea that all I need to do is just wait for that day where the market was up, and then I just follow the trend, and I'm just good. And that's not how it works. So it took me a long time to get out of that dabbling stage, and like I didn't really start taking things really, really seriously. I joined the group back in May of this year, and I really started taking it seriously after my wife got better, after she had to have cervical surgery on her neck. She had to have a fusion, and so I was taking care of her most of this year. And so I didn't have a lot of time to devote to learning or to doing anything new. This time around, though, I started to really, really get into it in August of this year. And I just wanted to, I think what appealed to me originally and where I was struggling is just like I was having so much inconsistency in everything that I tried. I had tried ICT, I had tried all the little wonky sort of things that are pandered about by quote unquote gurus and all those things. And this group appealed to me, and your content and the VWAP Wave system in particular appealed to me just because it actually made sense in terms of the things that I had read about auction market theory. Like I had done a lot of book reading. I had a great knowledge base of book reading, but I had no practical implementation of that. What the VWAP wave system did in terms of that for me, it put it into focus so that I could identify how the market, excuse me, how the market reacts to price and how where business is being done. Excuse me, I'm not used to talking quite this just long at a time. But like understanding market context, understanding, excuse me, like how price discovery and how balance play into market conditions and when to take trades has been next level for me in understanding how to manage my trading. And then the inner circle specifically, the biggest thing there has been learning to manage my mind, like getting control over my mental state, getting control over those impulses that take us to places where we're not making rational choices. I've identified in myself two basic spirit animals that cause me to make bad decisions. You're very familiar with my cocaine bear.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about that a lot. Cocaine bear is the tilt bear that makes me chase price after I'm already upset. I identified a new one this week. His name is Manic Bull, and he's my dopamine addict gambler spirit animal who makes me think I'm bulletproof and that I can't lose. And so the inner circle has been amazing for getting that under control. Like I struggle with it to this day, and I don't think any trader ever truly fully masters themselves to the point where they never make mistakes or they never make impulsive trades or anything like that. I think it's a lifelong process, really, and I think you'd agree with that, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
But I think the real benefit to me and the biggest surprise was like how many people were struggling with the same stuff that I was. Like I thought, I don't, we tend to think of ourselves as having unique perspectives. Like all of our experiences are unique. Like nobody's ever experienced it the way I'm experiencing it, right? But just about everybody was. And it's been so useful to hear everybody else's experiences and to see where they're struggling, because I'm struggling in those things too. And it's honestly been amazing for that, not just for the technical training that comes with everything, like the drills and everything else has been great. But for me, like the real stuff, like has been mastering my mind. I'm sorry if I've gone off on tangents. I just
No, this is all good. This is all stuff that we want to know.
I just love that stuff and
of it all.
I had been into meditation before and I restarted during Inner Circle, and that has been amazing, honestly. Yeah. So
awesome. So we'll dive into a couple of those specifics in a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about when you discovered the VWAP Wave framework itself. Right? Yeah. You started to implement. What was your learning journey like with that? And then, how did you start to focus on particular setups and why? I'd love to hear that part of your journey a little bit.
Yeah. So first of all, at first I had to ask my question when I'm watching this guy talk about his VWAP wave system. Talking about a system, and I've heard lots of YouTubers talk about their trading systems, right? Mm-hmm. And I found myself asking myself, because I have to ask myself this question: is he full of shit, or is this actually legit? And so you basically go through that, and you well, no, that makes sense. Yeah, the VWAP is exactly like where business is going to be drawn to, because it's the average price based on the volume of the assets sold, so it's going to naturally be the center point for any sort of cyclical system. And the market is a cyclical system. It's an auction. So when you have an auction, you have two sides that are looking for fair prices. VWAP is where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point, I started taking VWAP bounces. That was the first trade I ever took in your system, was VWAP bounces. And I only took VWAP bounces. And after hitting, I don't know, I think it was probably 10 trades, and I think 7 of them worked. I was like, okay, all right, fine. All right, so then, all right, fine, I'll join the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined the Discord, and I started watching more of your long form videos and things like that. I started taking PDCs more than anything, and those work out for me a lot. Especially longs. I tend to be a very long bias trader, although I've been doing a lot more shorting lately.
And for anybody listening, we've been in a little bit of a pullback in the market, so that might have
a little
something to do
bit,
with it.
yeah. But my profitability hasn't really gone down, other than some emotional trading challenges that I've had in the last week. But like all told, I'm a pretty consistent trader now. Like I've gotten to the point where my win rate is in the mid 60s with an RR that's near 1, which is very, very profitable in general. So if I don't have emotional issues, like I'm doing really quite well. I requested my 4th prop firm payout today, which is pretty amazing, honestly. Really excited about that. And like, I'll be taking PDCs until I die. They work so often, and they work so well for so much distance that I just, there's just something about them. And then being able to trade in balance is crazy too, because like anybody can trade a trend. They really can. Like, and PDCs are actually more than just a trend trade, because they're a reaction to a pullback, and they get you a great entry into the trend, which is like what I find to be so amazing about them. Because I had been sort of kind of okay, like 55% win rates trying to trade into trends. I'd often buy tops though, so like I end up at tops and then take big losses as it retraced to the point where the PDC trade would be, right? And so I found, it just started with VWAP bounces first, which I guess that goes back to kind of like Brian Shannon's old, stuff. And I've read a little bit of Brian Shannon. I haven't completed any of his books, but he's been
he's got some great principles. He's with the anchored VWAP. He's pretty much a thought leader on that. He's a swing trader as well. So, his methods are a different variation. He also doesn't use deviations, interestingly enough. He only uses VWAP itself. And as deviations of VWAP are a big part of our system.
They're huge. And it was such an amazing eye-opener to see those trades work, to see price just barrel towards a deviation band and then just bounce off just and how often it does it to the tick is just insane,
right?
Like unbelievable. And the fact that the setups work as well as they do is just it continues to amaze me now, like like every day, the fact that they continue to work. And as I become more trusting in them, and like fading is counterintuitive to me, which is why I like price discovery continuation. Fading does feel counterintuitive to me, but the fact that they work so often, it's
and maybe it helps you keep you out of bad trades as well. Just being aware of them, not necessarily taking those setups. So let's talk about those payouts. So most of them have been through Top Step, correct?
Yeah, all of them.
Yep, all of them have been through Top Step. Tell us a little bit about that first payout experience. What was that like?
It was kind of surreal. Like I was actually trading with too much size at the time. Like my risk management hadn't really come under control yet. And so I was shooting for these pretty big days on a 150K combine. But I was, trading well enough that I managed to hit a profit target, and I took a $3,000 payout. And it was amazing. Obviously it's like that first taste of success in something that you've been working at for months. Like, I like I said, I started this seriously in August, and it took me 2 months before I got that payout. And then I immediately blew the XFA
Mhm.
2 days later. Like you, it's sort of strange how that level of success, like you feel like you've reached the end before you've really even gotten started. And I it was amazing for me for that to happen. But then I had to come back down to earth a little bit and then refocus again, because I wasn't done, and I never will be now. Like, and that's one of
Mhm.
the lessons I've had to learn. And Inner Circle's been great for that, because
Mm.
keeping me down to earth and keeping me honest, journaling trades and all of that, being accountable for my actions, being accountable for my wins, my losses, and everything that, my misbehavior and all of that has been really, really vital. And so
Mhm.
it took me another 5 weeks to get a second,
Yeah.
because I did fall off the rails after that first one, because it messes with your head a little bit. And I would caution anybody, when you get your first payout, you're not bulletproof. You have achieved some amazing success, and that's great. And I am so happy for you, but you really keep your head on straight. Don't change your risk strategy. Keep your risk management tight. Keep your profit targets reasonable. But yeah, that's how it was for me. It was like this big high, and then just a drop.
I feel like everybody blows their first XFA after they get a payout. I certainly did. I didn't just keep getting payouts out of the account. You think you're going to. And that's the funny thing about trading, right? Everybody comes into it thinking we're going to be unique. It's pretty transparent. It's not like a big hidden secret that trading is difficult and that a
Right.
lot of people fail at it. Yet we all come into it thinking that we're going to be different and we're not like anybody else. And we're all just like everybody else. We're all the
Oh
same
yeah. Oh yeah.
ultimately. I don't
Yeah.
think I'm any different than you, Andy, just like I don't think you're anybody different than anybody else. So what makes a successful trader if we're all the same, right? I can venture a guess. And from what I've seen, it's the commitment, it's the hard work, it's the
Mm-hmm.
awareness, it's filled with failure,
Well,
unfortunately.
like I think it was like Mark Douglas that said that you can't master the market, you can only master your mind.
Mm.
And the, Mark Douglas is such an amazing thing for understanding trading mindset. And like, I think for me, that was the biggest lesson, is that, that it wasn't knowledge of the market or even a good system, because the VWAP wave system on its own, like if I could programmatically trade the VWAP wave system, I would, because I would be pretty successful at it, because it works so often. But it's not really built for that. But what has really, I think, has made me successful is commitment, introspection, and honesty, and my willingness to work on myself, because that's the only thing that's really changed. Like, I don't think I know the market any better than I did 3 months ago, but I know myself better.
Mm.
You
I
know?
believe it was Richard Dennis, famous commodities trader, who said that we can print the rules of our trading system. And he's, $80 million in
Mm-hmm.
profit, something crazy.
Yeah.
We could print the rules to our trading system on the front cover of the Wall Street Journal, and people would still not be able to make money with it.
Yeah, he was a Ford trader, right? Like he wasn't
Yeah.
he was scalping basically before
Yeah.
scalping was a thing electronically.
Yeah.
And
But even he actually held his positions a little longer than the average floor trader. I believe that was one of his claim to fames and a lot of commodities and stuff like
no,
that.
he was a smart guy for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's because, like, if all it took was intelligence, you'd see a lot more successful traders,
Hmm. Hmm.
a lot more. And but it's not. It's not. You have to be more than just smart. You have to be willing to look at yourself in the mirror and admit to yourself what you're capable of doing and figure out how to stop it.
Mm.
Like, one of the things you said that sticks with me is part of your morning routine is you admit to yourself that you could blow your account today.
Hmm.
And I've been doing that, and that has been a really big deal because it's so true. All it takes is one big position that you get off sides in, and you can blow an account just like that. And
100%.
like admitting that to myself and admitting what I can do wrong has been vital.
Right. And, a lot of us are fully capable of that. And risk management is hard. Risk management is probably the hardest part of trading because of our innate cognitive disassociations and problems we have with thinking about things and innate aversions to loss. So
Yeah.
all of these things are playing out, and so we can't always fight them. So once we develop a risk first mindset, which takes time, and it usually comes
Yes.
through experience.
And I'm only just getting it.
Yeah.
Like I'm like by most measures in terms of prop firm trading, I'm really successful. Like
Hmm.
I'm definitely more than average.
Hmm.
So, but I'm just barely getting that figured out. Like I
Yeah.
didn't like I had a bad day yesterday with risk management. And it's not because I don't understand it. It's because our psychology doesn't work that way. We don't think in terms of what we're capable of losing and that accepting that with every trade that there's going to be an outcome, whether a win or loss, and that it's inevitable that we're going to be losing. Like even great traders, like you do very, very well trading even live on stream, but your win rate's still 70%. That means you're losing
Hmm.
3 out of 10 trades.
Yep.
Like, and that means you take consecutive losses a fair bit of the time,
Yep.
like with a 70% win rate, that happens.
Yep.
And realizing that and learning from every loss has been a big lesson. And it's been really hard to learn. Like, it's really, really hard to learn to take losses and to learn from them. And like that's where the journaling aspect of things has come in, and the inner circle focus on journaling has been really great there. We've had
Mm.
wonderful feedback there too, so I'm really grateful for that as well.
Awesome. So let's get into the nitty gritty a little bit. What
Sure.
people really want to hear
Yeah.
is let's talk specifically about how you're trading. Let's talk a little bit about at this point, you've gotten a couple of payouts and you're doing
Mm-hmm.
well. You should have a pretty good and solid grasp of your metrics and what your trades and your hold times look like and what
Mm-hmm.
the ideal market conditions are for you and when you thrive, when you crash and burn. And let's give the audience a little chance to understand how you're trading, what you're trading, and what it looks like.
Yeah. So I'm trading indices in gold mostly. I don't trade gold a lot because it can be so choppy. Like gold, a lot of the time violates some of the VWAP levels a little bit more. It doesn't respect them quite as well as the indices do. It's highly liquid and it can be great to trade, and it does work. But it's not quite as reliable for me. So mostly I trade indices, NQ, ES, YM, and RTY lately. Um, I'll mostly talk about NQ sizing because that's what most people in the group trade. For the most part, I trade a maximum of 3 to 5 micros on even on a 150K account. So I'm really not looking for big profit targets. I'm looking for small ones with tight risk management. My risk
Mm.
management is very, very tight. It's 1 to 1 or less. So usually 1.25 to 1. My actual practical RR ends up being a little bit under 1. So I take a little bit more loss than win on average, but my win rate is roughly 63 to 65%. So it's more than
Mm-hmm.
enough to be profitable. I like continuation. environments better than balance environments typically. I've gotten a lot better at trading in balanced environments. I really like volume profile and DOM scalping as well. So I do a fair bit of that. DOM scalping is not part of the VWAP Wave system specifically, but it is something that we drilled on in the inner circle that I took to. And it's, taking 3 or 4 points on a trade in NQ is perfectly fine with me. I'll do that often for DOM scalping. But as far as the system setups are concerned, I often go for 20 to 40 points on PDCs, RTVs, or VWAP bounces, and then 10 points on fading extremes setups. I don't go for a lot of distance on most of my trades. And then I'm willing to take a little heat depending upon how good the trade is. And so I do take a few outsized losses, but for the most part, I manage risk really, really tightly. And that helps me. And I mean, at least when I'm in my right mind, I manage risk really tightly. Managing risk dynamically can be a bit of a challenge when you're working out that psychological stuff, but it's been, I think it's one of those things. It's like a muscle you have to keep working. Like you keep having to put the reps in. You have to trust the process, and you have to, I think, I get into trouble when I feel like progress is too slow. But, fortunately, I have a really great partner that brings me back down to earth when I'm trying to overshoot my necessary goals. She pointed out that somebody making $30 an hour for 8 hours is $240. So maybe I shouldn't be mad at getting $240 profits and 3 XFAs in one day,
Probably not.
So, yeah, does that answer your question? I mean,
absolutely. Let me ask you a couple of quick fire questions. So
sure.
What hours do you normally trade?
I trade typically between this is mountain time, so about 6:30 a.m. mountain, which is an hour before New York Open, to I'm usually done by 9 my time, so that'd be 11 Eastern. I don't like trading the Eastern lunch hour. Like it's too the volume's too light. Price action is too unpredictable. It's less likely to respect levels. And so my favorite time is usually 15 to 20 minutes after open.
Okay. How long is your average trade? How long are you in these trades?
My average trade is probably about 2 minutes. It can vary a lot. DOM scalps are less than 10 seconds most of the time. And so it can vary a lot. For the most part, when I'm like PDC trades, I'll hold for longer. Like I'll hold those for 5 minutes or longer. I don't even look for really the hugest moves. I don't hugest. I'm more looking for 20, 25 points, and that can happen really quick. Sometimes it can take 10 or 15 minutes. I don't worry too much about trade hold time unless, it's moving against me. If my trade's invalidated, then, the shorter time is better. But, if I can find an A+ setup that works well, then, I'll hold that for 30 minutes or longer. But for the most part, probably less than 2 minutes on average, especially with the DOM scalping I do. It brings the average down a lot.
Awesome. How about your strategy within the prop firms? What type of profit target are you going for? How much are you trying to build them up before you take a payout? Let's talk about your structure with that.
Yeah. So prop firms in terms of like for XFAs or for combines? Because I do.
Let's do both.
Now. Like originally, I was using combines the same way I would in any account and managing my risk and everything exactly the same. I've changed that up now. For combines, I'm looking to pass them faster. I'm looking to pass them within a week. So whatever the size of the account is divided by 5, I'm trying to pass them in that amount of time. Usually I'll have a red day in between. And I'll stop trading it. So I want to pass my combines relatively quickly because I just don't want to mess around with them. But I treat the XFAs like cash accounts, and I'm honestly happy with $300 to $500 in profit on any XFA, and even 200 on a 50K, I'm perfectly happy with. And especially trading 3 XFAs, that's just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not looking to be making $1 million this month. I'm looking to continue the process and, being profitable, covering my costs. I'm already well over halfway to covering everything I've spent on trading in my lifetime. So
Mm-hmm.
like right now, I'm just looking to make $300 per day on all 3 of my XFAs, and I'm quite good with that.
Yeah, and that's almost $1,000 a day, actually, and that's almost,
You
do the
know, like
math. That's a decent
yeah,
amount of money.
like we're talking with red days considered that's we're talking $15,000 a month if we can
Yeah,
do that. So yeah, I
well,
have very, very conservative profit targets.
so, and I think that broaches an interesting topic that I wanted to bring up for our listeners here is that you've been working on a cash account a little bit. So let's
I
talk about
have,
that.
yeah. Well, I've had some real ups and downs, especially this week. I've traded a $5,000 cash account.
And what broker are you with?
I am with Ninja Trader, Trade of Eight. I
Okay.
trade on Trade of Eight. I
Mm-hmm.
originally opened it through the Ninja Trader interface, but they're the same company, so it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned some lessons on it, especially recently. I had a day just yesterday where I chased really, really bad. I actually was in profit for the day. I had just taken one trade. And I'm not super comfortable with Trade of Eight's DOM yet. And so I double um, limit ordered and got in on a reversal. I didn't realize it because I had the voice notifications turned off. And I ended up taking um, I think it was 600 tick loss on 2 minis in a
Mm-hmm.
$5,000 account. So I got liquidated when my
Mm-hmm.
margin requirement dipped below. And so I took
Mm-hmm.
a $3,000 loss
Mm-hmm.
on that yesterday. Fortunately, I was up about 2,500 at the time. So, and I had withdrawn a good portion of those profits already, deciding to have it paid myself. So I limited my downside by doing that, fortunately. We talked about that this morning about how
Yeah,
it's
let's talk
good
about
to,
that
limit
lesson a
your,
little bit. So
yeah,
the smart thing you did was you withdrew money,
yeah,
right? So you took out 2,500. So now that he lost 3,000, he's only down net 500.
right.
But it probably worked out better because he did withdraw that money. It could have been a much larger liquidation.
Yeah. No, I mean, I could have lost 5,500,
Hmm.
before I was liquidated. It's absolutely likely that that could have happened,
So
and
what was the lesson in all of this? And that's why we don't want to keep this stuff from the listeners.
oh
We get a
yeah.
lot of
No,
people.
it's important to remember that you can do this to yourself anytime and through something as innocuous as entering a limit order that you didn't realize you entered. You have to pay close attention. You have to limit your risk in total. And that when you change the symbol on Trade of Eight, it does not carry over your ATM setting from the micros that you were trading a moment ago. So there was no stop in place, so it just went straight against me, like hard, like 150 points or something, and I was
As you know, I'm a big advocate of prop firms due to the layer of risk management that
yeah,
they provide newer traders, learning traders, or just traders in general, preventing really putting a limit on your downside
yeah,
risk. So we do get a lot of people who complain, for lack of a better term, about prop firms and the rules and how hard it is to get payouts and et cetera, et cetera. What would you tell those people?
um that your gripes are understandable because I've felt them too. But when your total risk on an account is limited to $50 or $150 or $200 or whatever you spent on opening that account and getting it funded or whatever. That's a hell of a lot better than losing 3 grand in cash, because that feels about the worst I've ever felt. So, like, like in the second that happened, I was like, I'm ready to quit trading forever. And I've never felt that when blowing a combine or blowing an XFA. Even after I got my payout blowing that XFA, I didn't feel this crappy. So yes, prop firms are hard, but if you are profitable in the way that you would be on a cash account, managing risk and doing the things that you're supposed to do to be a profitable trader, you can absolutely make money in prop firms. Prop firms are great for managing your risk, but you have to have your shit together.
And what's the other side of this is that, everybody wants to make money. We get it. It's trading, but trading starts with not as preventing your downside.
Yeah.
And most people do not give that enough credit. It's natural.
yeah.
Everybody comes into trading the same way.
You said that one of the turning points for you is becoming a risk manager first.
Yep.
Yeah, becoming a risk manager first. And that is something that I am learning to do. I don't think I'm perfect at it. I don't know that I'll ever be perfect at it, but I'm going to keep putting the reps in. I'm going to keep refining my strategy, and I'm going to keep printing payouts. I mean, I've taken 3 in December.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Pretty freaking good, I think.
Yeah. So. And I don't want anybody to think either, that has become my mindset. I did not come into trading that way. I was just like everybody else. This is something that developed over time, and I'm still not the best risk manager. However, what I've gotten a lot better at is putting guardrails in place that take me out of that equation sometimes.
And I think that's another thing that prop firms like Project X has some of the best risk management tools I've ever seen. Like it's better than Trade Evates. Like
it's better than anything we've ever seen in stocks or other equities or other asset classes.
Yeah, I mean,
it's insane. Like, if you wanted a stop loss for the day in my stock account that I was trading small caps, you would have to call the broker and they would put it in. And if you want it removed, you'd have to call the broker and you'd have to have a conversation. It wasn't a button that you could just press in your dashboard.
Yeah. And like when I was trading options in 2017, you could put stop loss orders in, but you were lucky if they got filled at the price you wanted.
Yeah.
And like if you were holding through an earnings and the earnings was after hours, you're stuck in that position the next day when the stock price tanks. And you're left holding the bag as the orders have evaporated and there's no way out. So, we're in trading futures and in prop firms, we're really lucky to have a lot of tools that help manage our risk. And I encourage anybody trading prop firms to use them. Manage your maximum trades per day if trading too much is a problem for you. Manage your max loss per day if that's an issue for you. Manage, don't let yourself trade minis. Like if you're trading a 50K combine, you really probably shouldn't be trading minis at all.
Right.
Unless you're trying to pass it in one day and you have the cash to blow accounts personally, but really use those tools because, prop firms, you could argue that they're built to fail, and they kind of are. I mean, they are really hard to pass. They're hard to take payouts on. But if you do the things that make a successful trader on a cash account, you'll make money on a prop firm account while limiting
100%.
risk. And that's, I think, really important.
100%. And you'll learn to trade within risk parameters, which you should be doing anyway.
Right.
People think that, if you just remove all these risk parameters, they're stifling me. Well, you need risk parameters.
One of the biggest things that I think I've learned about prop accounts that I found to be really, really valuable advice is that people will take a 150K account and they'll think of it as a 150K account. It's not. It's a $4,500 account. because that's how much you have to lose before the
Right.
account is gone.
Correct.
You know, you have a $4,500 account, so treat it that way.
Which is still pretty generous if you think about it.
No, it is. And the amount of leverage you're getting in these accounts is insane. The amount of earning potential you have. And, you know, so if you're following good risk management rules, that's more than enough to be profitable on.
Even more just a little bit.
And, you know, and while limiting your risk to your actual financial contribution, which is amazing. So.
Well, this is my favorite part of the interview. I only have 3 questions left for you, but these next 2 are some of my favorites.
Okay.
One is, you know, we always have people who are going to watch this video who might have been trading a while. They might be with us, they might not be, but they're struggling, right? They're just feel like they're hitting their head against a wall. What would you tell them?
Talk to the community. Tell them what you're going through. You know, get on to voice chat, talk to me, talk to Chuck, talk to everybody else in this group that has been where you're at, because we all have. It doesn't matter what you've been through. There's somebody in this group who's been through the exact same thing. I can guarantee it. In fact, Chris has probably been through everything. Like you've been doing this a long time. Everybody in this group just wants to see everybody else succeed. You know, they're trying to succeed themselves, but being around everybody else that has been where you're at, just come and talk to us. We're all here. You know, like I'm here to help. You've got there's some really great mods in this group. You've got, you know, Chuck and Mustafa are fantastic. They're wonderful. There's so many people here to help. Just use the resources that are here. There's so many, you know, if you're struggling, like there's lots and lots of help here.
I love that. If we would get a lot of people who aren't trading yet, or they're dabbling and they're learning how to trade, what would be your no fluff advice to them about what their goals and what their expectations should be coming into trading?
Define your expectations and manage your risk, and take it freaking seriously. This is not a game. This is not a casino. You're not walking in with the fancy lights, and you're not just going to print money by putting a trade on the table and getting, I mean, you might get lucky. You could, I mean, you could coin flip it and you could make $1,000 or something, but take it seriously. Don't mess around. Do not trade it like a game. This is not gamified trading 101. We want to be successful. And if you want to make this your job, if you want to make this your living, don't mess around. Just take it seriously.
Yep. And that brings us back to our first point, leverage the community, because we'll help get you there. Awesome, Andy. I got one more question for you, and then we'll wrap it up here. What's next for Andy the Trader? What's the goals look like for this coming year and in the future?
You know, like I have some pretty large goals. I would like to make 2026 a 6-figure earning year. That's my goal. I'd like to get to the point where I'm making 7. But in just the coming year, I'm looking to make 6 figures. I'm trading more XFAs now at once. I've also got a few combines that I'm working on as I try different prop firms. Top Step's recent troubles have kind of led me to branch out to the others and see what they're like. But yeah, I just continue to do and work on the things that I've been working on. I'm taking a break from cash for a little bit just to make sure I have my head on straight, that I have a good risk management plan for cash, because it is very, very different, people. Like, I promise, like, yes, you get all of your profits. You also take all of the losses.
That's correct.
If you don't have your head perfectly on straight, that can be devastating. And, you know, I'm lucky in that I was way ahead at the time I took the big loss, so I'm only a little behind, but yeah. So for the most part, I'm just going to be continuing to do what I'm doing, continuing to learn, continuing to grow, refine my edge, refine my risk management plan, and, you know, just continue to be active in this community.
Awesome. I love it, Andy. It's been so great talking with you. And for anybody watching, if you want to join us in the group, Andy's a lifetime member of both Inner Circle and the community. So I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
So you can come see him in the group if you want to pick up a free trial and test it out for a week. No risk to you. Come check us out, ask questions, and see what it's all about. Thank you, Andy. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Andy.